Hi everyone. In today's clip, I will talk a little bit about vapes and nicotine. Just a reminder that anything I post here is not meant to diagnose or cure anything, and it's for informational use only. For any health-related matters, please consult your healthcare provider. So vapes are often dressed up as a sleek little clouds of better choices, but under the hood, they're more like pocket-sized chemistry labs. Let's open one up conceptually and see what's inside and why people turn to them and where the risks sort of quietly lurk. Vapes or electronic cigarettes are devices that heat a liquid into aerosol, and it is not just a harmless water vapor and we inhale it. Instead of burning tobacco like traditional cigarettes, they use a battery-powered coil to warm up a liquid mixture. They go by many names. There is e-cigarettes, vape pens, mods, and pod systems, for example. A typical vape device has few key parts. First of all, there's a battery there, which powers the device. Some are rechargeable and the others are disposable. It has a heating element or a coil, which is a tiny metal coil that heats up quickly and vaporizes the liquid. There's also a tank or pod, which holds the e-liquid or vape juice. And also there's the mouthpiece, of course, where the user inhales the aerosol. This is where things get a little bit more interesting because nicotine in these is optional but common. It is, of course, highly addictive, and some vapes contain as much nicotine as a pack of cigarette or more, but this is the least of your problems. It also has propylene glycol or PG to help carry the flavor and give sort of throat hit. Propylene glycol or PG is a synthetic, colorless, odorless, slightly sweet liquid that absorbs water easily, and the authorities have declared this as generally recognized as safe or GRAS. Chemically, it's an alcohol, but not the kind that you drink, and is commonly used in solvents, in some moisturizers, preservatives, and sustained exposure to this chemical can lead to physiological effects. And PG, for example, is rapidly absorbed and broken down in the liver, and it is metabolized to lactic acid and pyruvic acid, and some of which is sort of excreted through urine within 24 to 48 hours. But over time, the liver and kidneys are overloaded, and there would be lactic acid buildup, as well as metabolic acidosis, reduced kidney function, electrolyte imbalance, and liver disease, as well as central nervous system depression, which brings about fatigue and confusion, dizziness, and in extreme cases, it might cause seizures or altered consciousness. However, this is not all, as it also has an impact on the respiratory system, causing chronic airway irritation, dryness, and inflammation of the lungs. And additionally, heating PG or propylene glycol generates formaldehyde and carbonyl compounds, increasing the risk over time. The next ingredient that is in there is usually vegetable glycerin or VG. So vegetable glycerin or VG, which produces thick, sort of visible clouds. This is also considered as generally recognized as safe or GRAS, and can cause mouth and throat dryness, increased thirst, hoarseness, cough flex, chest tightness, increase of inflammatory markers, increase of mucus production, reduction of normal airway clearance, increased mucus thickness, reduced ciliary beating. Cilia is what helps lungs sort of clear themselves, sort of. And VG, vegetable glycerin, when it is heated, it breaks down to formaldehyde, which is known as carcinogen, acetaldehyde, which is toxic and is inflammatory, and acrolein, which is considered a potent lung irritant. So VG produces significantly more formaldehyde than propylene glycol, and acrolein is primarily generated from actually vegetable glycerin or VG. These compounds are associated with lung irritation, cell damage, and increased long-term sort of respiratory risk. Then we have the artificial flavorings, and we have thousands of that, from fruit to dessert. Vape flavorings are usually concentrated flavor blends dissolved in propylene glycol, or PG again, or sometimes alcohol. They typically make from 5 to 20% of the e-liquid. They're composed of individual flavor chemicals, often sort of dozens per flavor. Many are synthetic, sometimes some of them are naturally derived. Most are chemically identical to food flavorings, and nearly all are food grade, which are approved sort of for ingestion but not inhalation. But I'm not a fan of food coloring either, so just to let you know. Now, there are too many of them to name and call out the side effects, but in general, they have been shown to impair cell function in the lungs. They're linked to popcorn lung effect, which is considered a serious and irreversible disease. And some include synthetic cooling agents and sweeteners such as sucralose, which decomposes into chlorinated compounds. Also keep in mind that when these flavorings are heated, they break down into, again, the same compounds I talked about, which are formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, and acrolein. So then, of course, we have other chemicals that when heated, they again produce the same three compounds. So you see how much of that is being produced. Some people use vapes to reduce or sort of quit smoking, and sometimes alongside nicotine replacement therapies it is used. But here's the twist. Unfortunately, whether they like to admit it or not, they're not safe. And some people end up using both cigarettes and vapes. Now, vaping is not harmless. It is just differently harmful. Now, I'm going to say something, and I want you guys to please understand that I am in no way promoting smoking. My father used to be a chain smoker, but it was real tobacco from our very own tobacco farm without any chemicals at all. He never had an issue and lived quite long, way over 100, and the same with his mother, my grandma, and his sisters. I really believe that the issue with the tobacco started after it became commercial, and so many chemicals got added to it. And the filters themselves had a lot of chemicals in them anyhow. So nicotine has a bit of split personality. In tiny, very tiny controlled doses, it can act like a sharp little spark in the brain, but it's the kind of spark that can easily turn into a wildfire if you're not careful. In low doses, nicotine can improve attention and alertness, speed up reaction time, and enhance short-term memory. And this is done through stimulating receptors that release neurotransmitters like dopamine and acetylcholine, which are tied to focus and learning. That's why some people feel more locked in after nicotine ingestion, I should say, after taking nicotine. Nicotine also can create a mild sense of pleasure or calm and reduce feelings of stress, but this is completely short term. Now, there's ongoing research into nicotine's role in brain health, especially in conditions like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. And some studies suggest nicotine might support certain brain pathways and reduce inflammation in specific contexts. But this is not a treatment. Nicotine is also used in appetite suppression and can slightly reduce hunger and increase metabolism, but definitely not a way to get thin or provide healthy weight balance. We have many overweight people who smoke. So, however, even at low doses, nicotine comes with the string attached, such as addiction risk, Diminishing return, meaning because the brain sort of adapts, so the focus and the mood, so the benefits fade and you will need more to get the same effect. It can cause cardiovascular strain, and even small amounts can raise the heart rate as well as constrict the blood vessels. In conclusion, addiction is to anything, including tobacco or vapes, is not a viable choice. To create the feeling of calm and satiety in the body, we may want to concentrate on hydration, deep breathing exercises, walks, any kind of movement to boost dopamine naturally and reduce our stress. Use music or chew natural gum if you need to. If you need to sort of have that oral fixation addressed. Remember that these alternatives will feel more like a steady sunrise rather than a lightning strike. So there is no crash, there's no dependency, and no sort of creeping needs for one more hit. So be kind to yourself and your body will be kind to you by providing a life free from ailments. Hope this has been helpful. My clips are available on TikTok and YouTube as well. Like, share, and follow for more. Be the light.